Okay, good morning. I call this meeting to order of the Strategic Housing Finance Corporation. It is 11:01 on April 10th, 2025. Good job, everybody. Ms. Honeycutt, would you like to do the roll call, please?
Yes, President Jan Winning,
Present.
First Vice President Keisha Prince,
Here.
Second Vice President Ashley Huddleston,
Here.
Director Julio Gonzalez Altamirano,
Present.
Director Delete Becker, Director Carrie Dorman.
Here.
Oh, no.
Not quite
Not
yet.
yet,
Not
but
quite yet.
We'll get imminently, yes. Any minute now.
And we do have a quorum.
Thank you so much. So as our first order of business today, I just want to explain that I'm going to shuffle the agenda a bit to accommodate the schedules of our guest presenters today from the UT Housing Policy Clinic. Welcome. So after the swearing in of our new appointee and the director's report, we will proceed to the presentation. Otherwise, the agenda will stand as you see it in your packet. So for the first administrative item, I do want to swear in our new appointee, Ms. Carrie Dorman. So if you'll join me with your oath over here in the corner. Yeah, that'd be great. So if you'll just repeat after me.
I'll raise my right hand.
That'd be great.
I, Carrie Dorman,
Do solemnly affirm that I have not directly or indirectly
do solemnly affirm that I have not directly or indirectly
paid, offered, promised to pay, contributed, or promised to contribute
paid, offered, promised to pay, contributed, or promised to contribute
any money or thing of value,
any money or thing of value,
or promised any public office or employment
or promised any public office or employment
for the giving or withholding of a vote at the election
for the giving or withholding of a vote at the election
at which I was elected,
at which I was elected,
or as a reward to secure my appointment.
or as a reward to secure my appointment.
In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas and Travis County,
In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas and Travis County,
I
Carrie Dorman,
do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will faithfully execute the duties
that I will faithfully execute the duties
of a director of the board of the Strategic Housing Finance Corporation
of the director of the board of the Strategic Housing Finance Corporation
of Travis County, Texas,
of Travis County, Texas,
and will to the best of my ability preserve,
and will to the best of my ability preserve,
protect,
protect,
and defend the Constitution and laws
and defend the Constitution and laws
of the United States and the state of Texas.
of the United States and the state of Texas.
Thank you, and welcome aboard.
I'm really happy to be here and looking forward to the work. Thank you.
Okay. With that, we move on to item 3 on our agenda. And can we ask staff to close the door to the hallway, please? We've had a couple people curious about what we're doing. Item 3, public forum, citizen communication. Ms. Honeycutt, have we got anyone signed up at this time?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. So moving on to,
Yeah, I want to double check.
You'll need to check with Kevin.
oh, sorry. Thank you for double checking. Appreciate that. So moving on to item 4, our director's report. Executive Director Diana Gray, would you like to begin your report?
Absolutely. Thank you, President Wenig. Welcome, directors. I'm happy to be here after our last meeting, which was at the Commissioner's Court. I think a very successful update to the court about the work we're doing here. I have a few quick updates for you, and then we'll cover some work plan highlights, our financial report, and an overview of our calendar. First of all, I would like to welcome our most recent and final, for the moment, staff member. We are fully staffed with the addition of Miss Gloria Nguyen, who joined us in the last 30 days as a development analyst on the real estate team.
awesome.
And has relocated here from Houston to join us.
Well, welcome to Austin and welcome to our organization. That's great.
Excellent. As you well know, we are in the middle of legislative session. You have at the dais update on our activities in legislative session. You have also been emailed those documents so that you can access our tracker, which is updated regularly. I'm happy to answer any questions about that. We're not going to spend a ton of time on it today, except to say there is meaningful legislation around reform for housing finance corporations, which we are consistently giving feedback on at the Ledge. Want to give you a quick update on Rosemont Tenant Investment Program. As of yesterday, we had distributed almost $900,000 to 123 households, with 16 households in progress. So that continues. We are probably now at the point where it slows a bit because most of the folks that we have good contact information have been reached, maybe not all, but we are now in the process of trying to find those folks who may have relocated. We can go ahead and go to the next slide. So in terms of, one of the things that we wanted to do today was to share with the board a little bit not only about what staff has been up to in the last 4 months, but what you can expect to see over the summer. And so I think, first of all, I want to say a great deal of our work, as you may have surmised, is that we have added 10 staff people since October of last year. And 6 of those this calendar year. So onboarding that staff and developing our work planning has been a significant endeavor. In that vein, we've also expanded our staff benefit package, as you know, refined our policy around board designated funds, secured and kicked off our auditor for this year, and expanded into this space. On the real estate side, the team has been busy. We have refined our application process and the approval flow through Real Estate Committee and with the board. We have selected now a portfolio data management tool. There was not a tool in place before, and so our new portfolio manager, Shelley Lenz, and Alex have been working hard to on-ramp us into that system so that we will have real-time or close to real-time data on all of the properties in our portfolio. We've been working on identifying potential models for our housing production fund, which, as you'll hear soon, we've now funded to our target level for this year, which isn't to say we couldn't grow it, but we have a fund to utilize. We want to think about how we best utilize that given the current market conditions. And then we have been working on some legacy portfolio transactions, some of which you'll hear about today. Finally, we are in the process and expect by the end of the month to identify a housing production metric that's going to make Director Altamirano very happy, and our goal. And so the idea there is that how do we measure our productivity, not just in units, but look at a metric that takes into consideration the depth of affordability, the length of affordability, and other quality considerations. Finally, on planning and external affairs, we've completed rebranding, completed the annual report for the first time in the newly constituted team. We have launched the Rosemont Tenant Investment Program. We will, by the end of this month, have a communications plan in place. Legislative session will continue through the summer. And so what we want to sort of give the board a sense of what you can expect on the horizon. This is certainly not our entire work plan, but some of the things that staff is working on that you may see come before you at the board level or in your committees. We are looking at what our board training will look like this year. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Of course, we'll be working on our audit, which actually kicks off today. in the summer, we will be working on our 2026 revenue projections. We did that last year as part of our budget process, but it's a significant endeavor, particularly as we get to know our portfolio better. And so we want to start quite a bit earlier this year to make sure that we have plenty of time. And given their current market conditions, that we have a good understanding of where what our portfolio performance will likely look like in 26. We'll be redesigning monthly financials again for, color-coded graphs that make all of the board happy, but one in particular, very enthusiastic about this process. And then we have some, of course, just policy and procedure development that is about our maturation as an organization. On the real estate side, we are scheduled to bring update of our real estate terms to the board this summer. And so that encompasses both our tax credit deals and our mixed income or workforce deals. And we expect to do this at least annually, where we come to you and recommend improvements to those deal terms. We also anticipate bringing to the board in the summer the first version of our new portfolio report, which will include the risk rating system that we introduced to you when we briefed you in January. We'll continue to work on that housing production fund, narrowing our sort of preferred models for how we can best utilize that capital. And then finally, you can expect to see some RFQs for third-party services. We have partners that we work with, but it has been some time since the organization has been through any open process to look at who we might partner with to make sure that we have the capacity and expertise we need. Legislative session, of course, will continue through June. In June, we also owe you an update on direction that you gave us in December on tenant Bill of Rights. And so if you recall, the request was that we update you mid-year and come to you with an implementation plan by the end of year. And we'll also be initiating some efforts on going deeper with the tenants in our properties, focus groups, surveys, et cetera. We'll also be bringing you construction standards policy in June, and we'll be continuing to work on our initiative around public workers. Any questions on work plan? Yes, sir.
Director Altamont.
Thank you, Madam President. We had talked previously about a flow that was strategy, supply metric, ED eval. What is staff's perspective on adopting or going back to the idea of a placeholder, strategic outlook, or micro-strategic plan, or is that going to, in staff's view, is it best to just condense it to the adoption of the supply metric? Is that where they're headed, or?
What I anticipate is that we will still do some strategic outlook, and that will be posted to forum in the next week to 2 weeks.
Great.
So it will be happening, roughly concurrently with the sort of production metric. And in future years, we hope we'll have an elongated process, but we still do intend to do it.
Thank you.
Other questions from directors or comments on the presentation so far?
Excellent. So from a financial perspective, at the end of February, our net assets were just under $19 million. We, in terms of budget, 22% of the budget and 15% of expenditures. And I believe that we were 17% through the year at that point.
Correct.
Thank you.
That was our financial. Katie Adams, standing in the doorway, who's helped
Thank you,
produce
Director Adams. Also at the end of February, our cash distribution, so the vast majority of our resources are in cash or cash equivalents. We do have some non-current assets. But because we created the board designated funds, at the end of February, we had almost $10 million in the Housing Production Fund and $3.6 million, which was our target, in the Operating Reserve Fund, with the balance in cash in either our investment account or our operating account. So that you know, because the cash on hand exceeded sort of the minimum that we've said we would keep in terms of cash management, in March we then made a further transfer into the Housing Production Fund so that it now sits at $15 million, and so that will be represented in next month's financials. Questions on financials? Excellent. All right, quickly, before I wrap, I want to give an overview of calendar. Of course, our regular board meetings are the second Thursdays. We have one today, and something new that we are instituting is that we are working to typically have site visits after our board meetings for staff and board members. We probably would accept friendly visitors as well if anyone wants to come with us. That starts today with a couple of visits, but we expect to continue to do that this year. This Friday is the Housing Works Austin Summit. I believe all staff is going, and at least a couple board members. It's a fantastic event, which we are sponsoring. If you didn't register but have had a last-minute change of heart, let us know. We'll see what we can do. There is a conference in Minneapolis, which is the National Association of Local Housing Finance Agencies. That is essentially the national trade organization for entities like ours. If you have interest, contact Debbie, and she will work to get you registered. And then finally, this date is yet tentative, but we believe that we will have a board training on May 29th. We, as good practice, always want to be bringing training and development opportunities to the board. It also now happens to be a requirement of Travis County, your appointers, and so we will be focusing on the 29th on housing finance, so low-income housing tax credits, bonds, and workforce finance. And then finally, our next board meeting after May will be June 12th. With that,
I have
will
one
conclude.
quick question
Yep.
for you, Ms. Gray. Are staff attending the NOF conference in Minneapolis?
I don't believe we have anyone attending right now. That may change, but
Okay. Appreciate it. Any comments or questions from the directors on the executive director report today? I just want to take note that we're seeing a huge shift as we've staffed up at Strategic HFC, and as you heard from Ms. Gray, with full staffing now, there is a work plan, which was referenced in the slide deck that you just saw, in operation for the first time in our staffing. And that has incredible levels of detail administered through the department structure and under the direction of Ms. Gray, that is allowing us to have these updates that are so precise and to be able to look forward to the items that we've requested from staff with a time frame. So we've really grown, and I just want to thank you for incorporating that into your report. It's very reflective of the dynamic between the board and the staff. So thank you. Hearing no other questions at this time, then I do want to move forward to what on our agenda item appears as item 7, and that is our guest presenters who are going to be briefing us on strengthening public benefits and tax-exempt partnership properties. This will be provided by Anna Rose Hyden and Elizabeth Blackbird from the Housing Policy Clinic at the University of Texas School of Law. And I believe Ms. Gray is going to give the directors just a quick intro so you understand what we're about to hear.
yes, thank you and welcome. We're so happy that you're here. In last fall, when Professor Heatherway and Ms. Shoshana Krieger from Boston approached us about this project, we were excited to work with the team on understanding better what the public-private partnerships look like in our community, and in particular, how we fare and compare what we might be able to do to improve our terms and our tenant protections. So we shared information, met with students several times back in the fall, and we're excited to hear the outcomes. I do think there are several things contextually that might be helpful, and as we hear this today, to think about how it will integrate with our work. I already mentioned that we have on our calendar to come back to you with an update in June around tenants' Bill of Rights, but part of that ask from the board was, if we cannot implement a full tenant's Bill of Rights, what pieces of it might we be able to implement? And this gives us a fantastic starting point in really understanding the different pieces and types of policies we might implement. The other piece is that the legislature is in session, and that there is legislation right now which may make some of this statutory and apply to all housing finance corporations. So we're watching that closely. And finally, one arena that we are engaged in where we think this will be a topic of conversation is that we have reconvened a peer roundtable starting in February of local housing finance corporations, PFCs, and housing authorities. And so we have a space in which we can talk about, even if it doesn't, it is not required by new legislation, what might we be able to agree across the entities to create a level playing field. And with that, I'll turn it over to the students.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us here today. My name is Anna Rose Habine, and this is Elizabeth Blackford. We are students with the University of Texas School of Law's Housing Policy Clinic, and we've prepared this report on behalf of BOSTA, the tenant organizing group, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, as I know they've done some great work with you all in the past. I do want the flag. Is there any, do we have the presentation?
Yes,
or?
you can go to the next slide,
perfect.
please.
Thank you.
There you go.
And then actually you could jump ahead one more. So this is kind of an overview of our whole summary, what we've done. And if you could skip ahead one more as well, please. And one more past that. Just this brings us to the scope of our research goals.
Yes. So starting first with what is a tax-exempt private partnership property, or TEP property for short. It is an apartment complex owned by a local governmental entity in partnership with private developers or investors that receives a 100% property tax exemption under the Texas Local Government Code. Next slide, please. And going over very quickly what our goals of this project were. First, it was to identify the total number of TEP properties in Travis County and their impact on the property tax base. In addition to this, we sought to understand what public benefits the local government entities require in exchange for the tax breaks that TEP properties receive. And lastly, we also sought to identify opportunities for more uniform local policies. Next slide, please. And I won't stay on this slide for very long, but we felt it was helpful to try to visually display the organizational structure we have here for strategic housing, as well as Travis County Housing Finance Corporation. The entities that we looked at all had slightly different organizational structures, so we felt it was helpful to display it, and this was our best effort to display this structure. Next slide, please. And next slide, please.
So this is just a summary of our key findings as it applies to all of the TEP properties across Travis County, or specifically the 5 entities we looked at. And so one thing we found was that there was a cumulative tax break of $101 million across those TEPs. And we found that there was a lack of consistent policies across the TEPs, which undermined the ability of certain entities to actually raise the floor on some of the policies that they could bring, because it let these developers shop around and avoid some of the more stringent requirements that some entities wanted to or did implement. And some of these policies resulted in unaffordable rents and excessive additional fees, high eviction filing rates, and access barriers for low income and voucher holding tenants. And one recommendation to address this is creating a robust, uniform set of policies across the TEPs in Travis County to try to make sure that these public benefits are better aligned with the tax breaks. Next slide, please. And one more slide, please. And I think 2 more. Yes, and then 1 more, please. And so this gives the breakdown, you can see in the center, of strategics, kind of how they fall within the TEP landscape. And so 19 properties, and this is as of fall 2024, so early fall, those that were completed and operational. So this had 19 properties and included 3 that had yet to be operational, and the abated taxes is $19 million for that last year. Now, when we did the policy breakdown of these entities, we only looked at the 16 operational properties. But this gave us kind of the landscape of currently of TEPs, and then as well as where it's going, we want to note that a lot more of these TEP properties are in the pipeline with many entities, so there's a lot of room to kind of raise up the standards and create improvements for the future. Next slide, please.
Okay.
Just could you pause there 1 second?
Yes, of course.
When you say tax loss, you mean taxable value taken off the assessed taxable roll?
Yes, so
Okay, got it.
yes.
Okay, turning now to unaffordable rents and junk fees. We identified at some of the TEPs that we looked at a lack of affordable rents, so that means not setting rents at 30% of the income limit, not adjusting for the area median income based on family size, and not including utility allowances in rent limits. And in addition to this, in the area of junk fees, we did identify several hidden and problematic fees at TEP properties. Next slide, please. And this is a breakdown of rent policies at TEP properties by entity. Specifically here, Strategic actually does have policies for all of those areas that I just identified, so we want to commend you for that. There are rent limits for TEPs, for strategic housing TEPs, as well as adjustments for family size and utility allowances. However, as you can see by this chart, this is not uniform across all entities in Travis County. And next slide, please. And turning now to fee policies, this is an area where there is some room for improvement across the board, basically. Strategic housing does have some of these implemented, for example, the mandatory recurring fees counting towards rent limits. And then for the entities that opt into the tenant protection policy, there is also barring eviction for tenants for late payment or non-payment of fees. However, Strategic does not have a cap on late fees, nor does it require upfront disclosure of fees. So those are areas that we've identified potential room for improvement. Next slide, please.
And that slide is for both light tech and workforce, or just workforce?
No, LIHTC is not included in that
Okay.
because LIHTC does have separate.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yes.
Got it. Maybe it's in the asterisks. I didn't see it in the back.
Sorry, yeah,
Okay.
I know it's very small, but yeah,
Yeah.
the LIHTC, because it is a very
Yep.
specific program,
Yep.
has different requirements.
Got it.
And then one other thing that we wanted to point out that Strategic is really a leader in this area is in the public benefit threshold. So out of the entities we looked at, Strategic was the only entity that did have this threshold requirement for partners to have the total projected rent discounts equal to at least 60% of the value of the estimated abated taxes. So Strategic is really a leader in this area, and we wanted to point that out, and we do hope to see other entities following Strategic's lead in this area. And we can skip ahead 2 slides now. One more, please.
And here, turning to access barriers. So we looked at 2 different types of access barriers, those to voucher holders and those to low-income tenants. And you can actually skip to the next slide, please.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we'll have a breakdown.
All right, I got it. There was one that in the packet I wanted to get clarification on, but.
Oh, we can skip
I'll come
back and-
Well, what exactly is the prohibits, if you could go back in the bullet, Kevin, if you could go back, yeah. Exclusionary advertising, essential workforce sizing incentives for teachers and law enforcement, excluding retail workers and lower paid school staff. Is it exclusionary for us to say that it's available to those workforces, or define exclusionary advertising?
So we were really concerned about the potential for excluding certain individuals who are often considered essential workers or had been during the COVID pandemic, including retail and restaurant workers or lower paid staff who, at least in certain phone calls to properties, and this is as a whole across all TEPs to be clear, some indicated that only law enforcement would be eligible for some of the low income housing that's available, or that's, you know, they might say on their website that restaurant workers, retail workers are included, but in calls to properties, they're then not included. So really just addressing certain workers not being eligible for the low income affordable housing.
In the advertisement.
In the advertisements, yes.
Okay.
We can move forward one slide, please. And so turning to the voucher policies at TEP properties, and again, this is not looking at the LIHTC properties, which LIHTC properties do prevent these areas of voucher discrimination, which is just not accepting voucher holders, and then prohibiting minimum income practices, exclusionary minimum income practices. So that refers to 2.5 times rent policies that aren't about the tenant share of rent and are instead asking a voucher holder to pay or to make an income sufficient for the entire rent, or in another way that discludes them. And so for non-LIHTC strategic properties, there weren't these protections except through that bonus incentive point program, and we just wanted to flag that for future non-LIHTC properties. If you could go to the next slide, please. You'll actually see on this next slide that we don't have any data for any of these non-LIHTC properties, so we did not have voucher holders, but you can see how at some of these other entities, voucher holder numbers are extremely low and really are being harmed by TEP properties that do not have these protections. Next slide, please. And then turning to the low income barriers, we did find that requiring affirmative marketing of affordable units is something that was an area we looked into, and we found that strategic housing does excel in this area, but there are also areas to improve, including restricting application costs and restricting non-refundable security deposits. So specifically security deposits, additional fees that are required upfront for certain tenants who might not have a credit history or have a rental history or who have low credits, as opposed to regular refundable security deposits. Next slide, please.
Okay, turning now to eviction mitigation policies at TEP properties. Overall, in Travis County, TEP properties had a higher rate of eviction filings compared to all rental properties, about 1.2% higher. Next slide, please. And looking at this broken down by entity, there is some variety here, with strategic housing sitting right at about 8.2%. We do want to note, however, that we do understand when viewing this research in context that strategic housing was under different management until 2024, so we recognize that there are some changes in the works. So we just wanted to clarify that we are looking at this in context. Next slide, please. And now looking at this by property, the top 10 evictors in Travis County in 2024, strategic housing TEP properties do account for 4 properties on this list. Next slide, please.
Just a quick pause. I
Yes.
think we're at 10 minutes.
Okay.
And just want to double check if you're able to still reserve 10 minutes for discussion, though I know we've interrupted you a few times. Where are we at in the presentation?
Yes, so this is our last section, and we were planning to go over our recommendations in the discussion portion.
Sounds good.
So we're almost done with this part. And we can actually go to the next slide, please. And so in looking at this eviction filing data, we did find a lack of comprehensive eviction mitigation policies, such as a 30-day notice to cure requirement or good cause for non-renewal. Next slide, please. And looking at this, so this was something that there was pretty widespread room for approval. We do want to note, however, that strategic housing does have incentives, but it is not required to have these policies. And next slide, please. When these policies are implemented and required, such as with the ROTA lease addendum, we did notice.
For the benefit of the directors, can you define that assistance program? ROTA, what you mean?
ROTA, yeah.
Yes, so this is the Rental Housing Development Assistance Program by the City of Austin. And it is, the lease addendum has several of the protections that I mentioned on the last slide, specifically the 30-day notice, the right to cure, the right to have a meeting, and all of that. So those protections, when required, we did notice that the TEP properties with ROTA eviction protections had a lower overall eviction filing rate compared to TEPs without these protections. And next slide, please.
And next slide, please. So this is our overall recommendation, is to bring up these uniform baseline policies with specifically addressing these policy areas we've just gone over. And recommendations that include ensuring rents are affordable and regulate junk fees, removing barriers to these voucher holders and low-income tenants, as well as providing that public benefit threshold. That's across TEP, so we again commend you for having that already. And then as well as taking eviction mitigation steps. And if you could skip to the second to last slide, please. We did come up with a few strategic, specific recommendations of areas that we could notice. And so these are adopting that ROTA tenant policy as opposed to the incentive points, barring discrimination of voucher holding tenants, adopting restrictions on application fees similar to as seen in LIHTC that are based on the actual cost of doing background checks and things like that, as well as adopting these eviction mitigation program and prevention plans and requiring upfront disclosure of these fees. And we welcome any questions on this point.
Well, we thank you for this research, and as you can tell, thank you for noting where we've been working to re-guide our terms and recalibrate ourselves to be more in alignment with expanding the benefit, the public benefit. We're looking forward to a robust discussion here by the directors and staff, as whoever would like to comment next. Are there any questions or comments on this presentation from our directors? Yes, our new director.
Yes, sorry. So, and this is my very first day, so forgive me if my question should already be known, the answer should be known, but some of these appear to me to be cost neutral. Some of these appear to me to be increase in cost. So did you all happen to research where we might find dollars, grants or other dollars to say, hey, yes, we want to be the poster person, the poster organization for this, but our developers, our partners can't make the deal work if we don't have X fee. So did you identify some money somewhere that we could help this along? Is that something you did?
We unfortunately did not look into different grants that you may be able to look at. One thing we did look into was a little bit, and not extremely extensively, was there is some research that suggests that certain eviction mitigation policies, specifically those that require giving the ability to cure lease violations or 10 days to pay back non-payment of rent can actually ultimately benefit landlords as well, because evictions are super costly. And so when you take these sorts of steps like meeting with tenants in advance of going to the eviction filing stage, it can often resolve a lot of these issues. But we didn't look at specifically any grants that could be required for this area.
Thank you.
Madam President, do you want us to ask questions and then hold discussion feedback for our discussion period, or?
This is the discussion period. Yeah.
Okay.
Go forward. Director Altamirano.
Thank you for answering my clarification questions during the presentation. I do have 3 pieces of feedback. One, this is really great. We really value benchmarking. Your labor was put to very, very helpful use, and it's very nice to be able to see how our sister and comparable agencies are doing. Number 2, and this is less for your benefit as much as for the benefit of our policy. One of the subtle things about how we participate in the financing of affordable housing is that when we take a bated value off the tax rolls, because of the way that the operating budgets of the city, county, AISD work and the caps imposed by the state, we're not really trading off with the operating funds because the governments are growing at a sort of, they try to maximize the rate that they can grow at. We are shifting tax burden. And so the word loss, in this room, I think we all intellectually understand what you're getting at. But as you say it in the community, it's important to kind of convey that it is a tax shift. It is an abatement to our partner. And one of the things we could argue is like some of our partners don't deserve money or they deserve less money. But in terms of the fiscal consequences, because I could see somebody seeing the presentation and taking away the idea of, if we did not do our work, there would be $100 million more for cops, incarceration, and teachers, which is what the general funds of our main entities use their dollars for. And that's not exactly right. What's happening is a additional taxation of commercial properties, like the Google building downtown, people in West Austin with big houses with pools, and multifamily, But if you think about it, and if we brought Dick Levine in here, he would kind of point out that's kind of a progressive tax in that folks with more assets are being asked to fund. And one subtlety about it that is relevant to our environment is that we don't have to go to an election everything for our portfolio. Unlike Rhoda, there is no bond election, and so our scale and flexibility makes this a special tool. So, if you go back and you analyze it, as I did when I looked at the presentation, if you can decommodify 30,000 units, or partially decommodify 30,000, 35,000 units, that's about 10% of multifamily in the county. For, at the end of the day, the median household member, the median household property paying tax code in Austin paying $1 or $2 or $3, a very nominal amount, I think that is a very helpful tool. And so as we talk about the trade-offs involved with our activity, we might want to calibrate how we talk about it. Certainly in some audiences, it's important for them to hear the tax loss and the handing out of resources. But I think in the policy circles, particularly in this environment, that are going to be listening to this, it's important to kind of talk about what are we getting for this tax shift, which can be a really progressive tool. And then the third is, as you know, we have a process going on that's going to take up this year where our staff is coming back and giving us a sense of how we're doing the Tenant Bill of Rights and hopefully implementing it. This is a long-standing commitment that our appointers want us to do. we really care about it. We've had difficult time getting it to do it for a variety of reasons. You know, prima facie, everything you said you think we should do, I really want to try and get there. You know, and so we definitely want to lead as much as that we can. One thing I would ask you to if the clinic can have more resources, and I know our friends at BASA can, is to really support staff in developing what a eviction mitigation program that is efficient looks like. And one thing I will say is, it's one thing for us to adopt text here and then hand it to our staff, and then our staff to hand it to our development partners. What I think the missing piece of the puzzle is, and I hope something that the clinic will work on, and I know our friends at BASA care about, is we kind of need a different kind of property manager. Because even though yes, we have changed here, and some of our development partners have changed. But when we hand them the instructions, or when our staff is calling to be like, what are you doing? Are you implementing our will? Are you complying? It's just so much easier if the people that are being given these instructions are already values aligned and want to do it. But we need a way of getting that to scale. And so here's a clue for you. AHC, which was in the report that we got in terms of one of the organizations you looked at under HACA, I believe has something called the Austin Property Management Group, which is their in-house property management organization for their workforce style 392 deals. And that is a very interesting entity for this particular problem of what would property management look like if it was to be able to implement the things that you're saying with fidelity. Because I think that's always a thing that concerns me, that we will up here have good policy and our staff will try to do it, but you know, there's this kind of saying in MPA land of, if there's no vendor to implement, it's not going to happen. And right now, I think our ecology has not created those vendors. That is my feedback to you, because I really wanted to make sure you understood that this material was very engaging to me, and I think is going to impact our direction. I very much hope that you will hear this little homework assignment and hand it back up the chain to the professor. I think if you could find a way for us to know more about that and what's the best way to stand up an apparatus, that would be transformative to us. That is my feedback to you, and that is the discussion I wanted to have with my colleagues.
Thank you, Director Altamirano. I just want to echo that we would love to hear back from you on both what you heard from Director Dorman about, is there money to implement this? What do you think about maybe approaching entities that have money and encouraging them to open the floodgates so that we can tap into some resources? And also the property management piece is something that we as an organization have had a rough history with. And so that's why you hear us really interested in new models on that and new ways to move forward. We would love to hear back from you if you've got something on that for us, as well as the uniform policies. I would suggest not to wrap it up without hearing from my Director Prince, our VP. Is there anything you'd like to say to our UT School of Law
Yes, I think this is a great report, and I really like the section about vouchers. As a voucher holder, vouchers used to be a great thing to have. You could get a nice house, and now it's almost like a curse. Mm-hmm. When looking for my last place, when you go online looking for stuff, all of a sudden this certain realty company kept popping up with places, but when you read the thing that gives you all the qualifications, at the very end, every last property said no voucher. Mm-hmm. No voucher. And a lot of those places were affordable and nice neighborhoods, but no voucher. So just know hundreds of people are losing their vouchers because they can't find a place that they expire, and they're losing their vouchers because they can't find a place that will accept vouchers. So I commend Jan for pushing that our places accept vouchers because it's guaranteed money every month.
Absolutely.
But people look down on vouchers and they just have a misconception. They don't understand it, so it's discrimination, period. And people are becoming homeless because they lose their vouchers and can't afford market rates. So, I really appreciate what you put out there, and just know that vouchers are a good thing and they help people. As a single parent, I wouldn't have made it without a voucher. So I thank you for that.
Thank you, Director Prince. Director Dorman, any other questions or comments for the presenters? I think we're a little over time, so we look forward to hearing back from you on your homework. I didn't mean to overstep for our staff. If you have anything you wanted to
No,
add,
ma'am.
perhaps we can engage in an email exchange. But thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you
for
so
your
much
work.
for having us.
Yeah, great job, y'all. Okay, directors, if you were to refer to your agenda under discussion item 7, there is a second agenda item about us receiving a briefing from outside counsel. And I just want to explain that we're going to be holding this discussion on per executive session according to the Texas Government Code 551.071, and that'll be the last item that we will entertain today. So we're going to move forward and back to the original order of our agenda. And we are now on the consent agenda, which has previously been, this is item number 5. Sorry, we're skipping around. Having previously reviewed these items on the consent agenda, does anyone wish to remove any items as they're listed here? Hearing none, then let us move forward with consent agenda. Item A is the approval of the minutes from the March 13th, 2025 regular meeting. Item B, resolution number SHFC-2025-10 to approve and adopt the 2025 Executive Director Evaluation Criteria for use in assessing executive leadership performance over the course of the year. Do I hear a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
So moved.
Director Altamano, and a second. Director Prince. We have our consent agenda passed unanimously. We're moving forward to item 6, which is our action agenda item. For that, I defer back to our executive director to help us address the 2 action items.
Yes, we'll start with item 6A, Cambridge Villas, and I'll invite Real Estate Director Alex Radke to the dais.
Good morning, directors. Next slide, please. All right, I'm going to start off with just a quick summary of the action we're asking you all to take today on Cambridge Villas. So it's a 2-part request. First, we're asking for authorization to negotiate a purchase and sale agreement for Cambridge Villas, and then separately authorization to potentially negotiate a memorandum of understanding for a new partnership for Cambridge Villas based on threshold partnership terms. Next slide. Just as a quick reminder and overview about Cambridge Villas, this is an existing partnership in our portfolio. It's located in Pflugerville. It's our only 9% deal. It's a senior deal with a little over 200 units and built in 2007. Has a mix of 1 and 2 bedrooms, and then the affordability mix ranges from 30 to 60% median family income with just a few market rate units. Next slide. So, reminder on sort of what's been going on with Cambridge Villas in the last year. In June of 2024, it reached the end of its initial 15-year LIHTC compliance period, which triggers a couple of different things and different possibilities as far as sort of the future of the property and the partnership. In July, our current investor limited partner, Alden Torch, triggered a clause in our partnership agreement requiring us to market the property. We have 1 year in which to do that. We did, after receiving that letter, reach out to them and discuss, with the approval of the board, whether we could buy out their interest and avoid having to go through a marketing and sale process. We were ultimately not able to agree on a price for their interest. So at the end of last year, we started working on the marketing process, including selecting a broker to work with. Next slide, please. So there's a couple of different future scenarios. We've talked about these before, but just as a reminder of kind of what could happen with this sales process. We do need to move forward with the marketing and sale. Again, that's what's in our current partnership agreement. However, there is an open question as to whether we remain involved in the next chapter of Cambridge Villas. There's three possibilities. One is that the new owner moves forward without a tax-exempt public partner. This seems unlikely to us. The affordability restrictions will remain on the property for the next 30 years, regardless of whether we're involved or not. And so most likely they probably will want to have a tax-exempt partner in the deal. They could pull in a different tax-exempt partner. You know, we're not the only folks in town. However, I will say, based on just kind of the initial interest and questions we've gotten from potential buyers, many of them are asking about our willingness to enter into a new partnership and what our terms would be to do so. Next slide. Here's a breakdown of the timeline that we've kind of already been going through with marketing, and then sort of what we see moving forward to get to sale. So on March 6th, Bercadia, our broker, began marketing the property. We've been scheduling property tours last month and this month. Our portfolio manager, Shelley, has been attending those and talking with some of the prospective buyers. We're here today asking for authorization from y'all to negotiate a purchase and sale agreement with a select buyer once we get to that stage, and to potentially negotiate new partnership terms if that buyer is asking for a partnership with us. On the sales timeline, initial offers right now are due towards the end of this month. We will then review those offers with our broker and with Alden Torch. And for any of the top kind of candidates who are interested in a partnership with us, we are requiring that they turn in a partnership application, pre-screen application, so that we can give them an indication of whether or not they would be a suitable partner that we'd be interested in partnering with. Best and final offers would be due in the first week of May. And then we expect that sort of May, June would be that sort of selection of a final buyer and negotiating the purchase and sale agreement, or PSA. If, again, that does involve a new partnership for us, we would also simultaneously be negotiating that partnership MOU and partnership documents. We think that means that we'd be coming back to the board in June with a draft PSA and, again, potentially MOU, so you would get to see who is the buyer that's kind of risen to the top, and or, again, potential new partner. We do need Alden Torch's approval, again, as they are our investor limited partner in the deal. And so we think that this summer that would end up meaning that we execute the PSA, move through the due diligence period, and hope that probably early fall we would actually close on the sale of property and potentially into the new partnership.
Can I add something before we go to the next slide? So one thing to be aware of, and please correct me if I'm wrong, under the existing partnership agreement, should Alden Torch not agree with the buyer that we bring them, having marketed the property, they do have the right to then market it themselves.
Yes.
You know, we're, I think, going through a credible process, but we want you guys to know that there is a world in which they would elect to market it themselves. We think that...
In the middle of a recession.
Correct.
Yep.
It is, yes, in the world of possibility.
Yes, and it would be sort of similar to what we've had a year to market and bring them an offer, and they have to agree. It would be the same thing where they would then have a year and they'd have to bring us something and we'd have to agree. It is a possibility. Next slide, please. So on the sort of question of a new partnership, we're asking for that authorization to start negotiating a new partnership if that request comes up. And we want to have some threshold partnership terms to help us with filtering for a good partner, and also obviously setting us up for what we think will be a stable kind of future for Cambridge Villas. So you'll see here on this slide sort of the financial partnership terms broken out from additional partnership terms. This Cambridge Villas does not quite follow our workforce term sheet or our tax credit term sheet for the simple reason that the tax credit term sheet as we have it right now is really about new construction tax credit deals. This is a very different sort of transaction where we're coming into an existing tax credit. We would potentially be coming back into our own existing tax credit deal that is post its initial 15-year compliance period. It's just some different economics. One thing I do want to point to is that we will be requiring a minimum amount of capital expenditures per unit. The property, again, is just over 15 years old, and in working with property management, we do feel there's a need for some rehab and improvements to be done. Closing into a new deal and new financing is the opportunity to try and ensure that those capital expenditures are part of that new financing. And so we've put in $10,000 per unit, which is, we don't have a full property condition report right now. That would come during the due diligence period of a purchase and sale agreement. And so I think that number could move around, but we wanted to make sure that it's really clear to any potential partners that we expect investment into the property up front. And then on those additional partnership terms, you'll notice we would be requiring tenant protections, partner guarantees, and then additional language essentially making sure that they understand we're an active general partner and need to be part of what we kind of term the major decisions. Next slide, please. Here's our project checklist, just to kind of reiterate that this has gone through sort of an official process and is meeting some of our policy goals. So as I mentioned before, we have already worked on trying to avoid a sale. It would have been a quicker and easier process to go through a buyout of Alden Torch's interest. That was not possible. So we have engaged a professional broker with affordable housing experience to work with us through the marketing and sale of the property. And we've put together these new partnership terms that have been presented to and supported by the real estate committee. As far as partners go, that is to be determined. But again, I think we will hopefully be coming back in June with a partner and be able to share more information if, again, a new partnership is in the future for us. And then finally, I just want to say from a policy standpoint, we really think these threshold partnership terms will help us in targeting quality partners and ensuring fair financial terms, and that the capital expenditure requirement in particular helps us with the policy goal of ensuring quality of life on our properties, particularly as they continue to age. So with that, I'll pause and see if there are any questions on this item.
Directors have any questions or clarifications at this point before we enter discussion and debate? Yes, Director Dorman.
Thank you very much. So one of my questions was who has authority to select the final buyer? So what I'm hearing is the parties have to work together.
Yes, so we will select, but we still need Alden Torch's approval before we'd be able to enter into any negotiations for a purchase and sale agreement.
And same if they
Yep.
deem our proposed buyer,
Yep.
we also have right of veto,
Yes.
sort of. Okay. And is the same true for the sale price? How is that determined?
So it is in our camp right now to get the best purchase price and take it to Alden Torch. They are not in a position to negotiate the price themselves.
Because I would assume everyone's pulling in the same direction to get the best price.
I think what I would say is, were we the only decision makers in this transaction, we might be really looking at value of a partner, in conjunction with the sales price. Based on our conversation to date, I think it is fair to say that Alden Torch's priority is sales price. And so there's a little bit of tension there. We hope that, the highest priced, the best price also is with an acceptable partner to us, and we have a role in that if we enter back into the partnership.
So again, it's a partner decision, and it's tangibles, intangibles. We make a decision together. In the best case.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, requests for clarification? So let's move into discussion then. Would any director like to comment on this or on the request for approval from staff for this resolution? Yes.
Madam President, thank you. For your benefit, Director Dorman.
Thank you.
So part of the reason we are not asking a lot of questions is because we have a history with this item, and we've had a process with this item. And so if you look at the project checklist, it kind of summarizes at a glance as a reminder to all of us. There is a subtlety in terms of this particular transaction, in terms of a potential bidder that may be interested, and as the Madam Executive Director pointed out, our conversations to date from us have been that we are not price maximizing, but rather mission maximizing. We went through this process before with some of you painfully when we were figuring out what to do about Rosemont, which has a different name now. And that's actually on our message board, and you can see kind of the dialogue around how we went through developing our RFP. There's also articles about it in the public domain from credible news organizations about how we tried to balance it. And so I suspect we may have to deal with that again. And one of the reasons I think we have been in the real estate committee and the staff digitally moving it along, and we'll support this action, is to kind of give us the best chance at being able to be in a good position to act in good faith to Alden Torch, but also try and maximize the mission.
That's very helpful,
Yes.
thank you.
And so
That's what I meant, tangibles, intangibles.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
And so in the future, you will see that there are moments where we talk a lot more about these things. It's not like we just do these big transactions without significant discussion here or at the committee level. But this one and the next one, as you may experience, we've had a path, and so that's why we get here and we're ready. I think our culture is, if the staff is bringing it for action and we've been through the process, it would not be here if there wasn't significant consensus that it's time to act. Just so you understand.
Thank you.
Our norms so far, which you will amend and contribute to, obviously, with your service. Yield the floor, Madam President.
Appreciate it, Director Altamara. Yes, we have discussed this previously in board and exhaustively in real estate committee. So there has been a rigorous review of these terms and this checklist. Director Prince, anything you want to add? Then I'd like to see if we could entertain a motion for adoption of resolution number SHFC.
So moved? Oh, so sorry. Oh, so sorry. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go. So sorry.
We have a motion from Director Altamara.
Out of order.
Do we have a second?
Yes. Okay.
Director Prince, we're done.
Okay.
There is another action item.
All those in favor?
All those in favor, yes, I'm sorry.
Aye.
That's a unanimous vote. Yes. And Ashley, unanimous. Thank you, Director Huddleston. And please chime in at any time during discussion. I know you're muted, but we're interested in anything you have to say. Continuing on our action agenda for item B, resolution number SHFC-2025-12, and this has to do with the new Midtown Highline development, and I think we have the developer here today, so I'll leave it to the staff to proceed to brief the
Excellent. Feel free to join us.
board on this item.
So our partners from CivicCap have joined us and will be here to answer any specific questions you have, but Director Radke will lay out the item.
Next slide, please. All right, so the action requested today is authorization to execute a memorandum of understanding for a partnership with CiviCap Partners on the property Midtown Highline and move forward with negotiation and execution on all related partnership documents. Next slide. So we're excited to bring Midtown Highline to y'all today as a new partnership project. It's located in North Austin and is a new build completed just last year. It's 2 separate buildings, which you can see in the photo on the slide, and 163 units in total. The property is currently in lease up, and we would come in and be converting to workforce housing. CiviCap Partners would be our development partner, and that would be the first time for Strategic getting the chance to partner with them. And then you'll see a list of community amenities down at the bottom. Next slide. Here's a map to kind of help with locating the project. It is, as you might notice, very, very close to our current offices and where we're at, just on the other side of 35. It's right on the edge of the ACC Highland campus, which we think is a really great location, amenity and job access wise. Also has good access to transit, the Red Line buses, close to highways, and then fairly close to downtown and the airport. Next slide. Here's just bird's eye view again, so you can see it is 2 separate buildings right there. And then next slide. So as I mentioned, it's 163. Oh, next slide, please. It's 163 units. All of them are 1 bedrooms. We are really excited about the affordability mix on this. This is a more deeply affordable mix than we have been seeing on our workforce deals. First, because it includes 50% MFI units. So we've got 10% of the units at 50% MFI, and then 30% at 60% MFI. Just as a reminder, on our workforce term sheet, the standard is 20% of units at 60% MFI. So just really great to see that more deep affordability here. Next slide. Here's a little bit about CiviCap Partners, and I'm going to let them, when I finish my slides, be available to maybe speak a little bit and introduce themselves. But just want to give you a little bit of background. We do have Jessica Jones here, the Executive Vice President of Asset Management, and then Allison Medanza. Apologies, Allison, I don't remember your title.
Associate.
Associate, yes. So CiviCap is a private investment firm that was formed in 2018 with a specific investment strategy in workforce housing. They are based out of Houston, but have done public-private partnerships with HFCs and PFCs across the state, including some here in Austin. They do both new construction projects as well as acquisition of existing workforce. And this deal, they actually do already own Midtown Highline. Next slide, please. You should have received a link to the full public benefit analysis, which is a pretty extensive document. This is just a very short snippet looking at the public benefit calculation. So as a reminder, on our workforce term sheet, we do require workforce deals to meet a minimum 90% public benefit ratio. This deal meets that even before counting bonus points at 94%. They have opted into all 10 of our bonus points, meeting the final public benefit score of 104%. And I will note again that the partnership terms for this deal do meet the full workforce term sheet as set. And next slide, please. And then just to wrap up, again, here's our project checklist. So this project has submitted both the pre-screened and formal applications and paid the application fee. We have also received a satisfactory third-party public benefit analysis report supporting the public benefit ratio calculation. And the deal has been presented and supported by the Real Estate Committee. As far as looking at the deal through the partnership lens, we're excited to see CiviCap coming in as a partner with very relevant affordable housing experience, both locally and across the state. This is our first time working with them, but we think it's a great opportunity to expand our bench of partners. And then from a policy standpoint, again, this deal does meet all of our workforce term sheet standards, but exceeds our affordability target, again, with the inclusion of the 50% MFI units and additional 60% MFI units. And then finally, I just want to note this location is really exciting, both for its access to jobs in transit, but also in helping us diversify our portfolio of locations. And with that, I'm going to turn it over. CiviCap is here if y'all want to say a word, but also then if y'all have any questions.
Yeah, I think you did a great job talking about CiviCap. So I welcome, I'm Jessica Jones, and I welcome
Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Would you like to emphasize in any way how you came to want to approach us and on this deal, what you think about the merits of the particular property or anything about reaching and exceeding our affordability targets?
Yes, so we have deep experience in the affordable space, having done we have 10 other deals that either have a PFC or HFC structure, and this one being all one bedrooms that was approaching stabilization. We have now reached stabilization. As we are entering into permanent financing, we identified this one as a great candidate both for its location and the type of product in this market.
Can I add one thing, President Wennick? I apologize, I should have said this when I introduced it. This is the first project that you are considering under those new terms. So it exceeds what we were seeing before, typically, of 20% at 60. But this is where that ratio requirement of 60% of the abated tax value in reduced rents has produced the additional affordability. So really excited about it.
Any comments or requests for clarification from our directors present today for our new partners?
I have a question.
Yo, Director Huddleston.
Yes, Director Huddleston, thank you you'll probably have to speak up. Go ahead.
Yes. How is this property staffed, being under 200 units?
Yeah, that's a great question. There are 2 people in the office, so there is a property manager and a leasing agent, and then you have 2 people on the maintenance team.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Anything further, Director Huddleston?
That was the only question that came to mind. Thank you.
Okay, I appreciate that. Other directors, Director Altamirano.
I'm very excited to support this. A few of us saw this getting built, I think, back in the day, because it was right by Hatsy. And I kid you not, I was like, oh, these are so nice.
Yes.
I wish we could get projects like these. So, here we are. I do want to thank you for engaging us on our new terms. I suspect that there are some new things to be worked out there, but I do think that they are visionary, and there's a small possibility that they may preserve the powers of HFCs for the people of Texas because of the novelty of some of the things that we are trying there. So thank you. I hope that this is a good partnership for all of us, and if so, I hope that we will continue to do this kind of work together. Thank you for working with us on this.
Us as well. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for our visitors from Civic Club? I really appreciate you being here today. It makes such a difference in the presentation, and yes, we did watch this going up, and so I had no idea that this would happen eventually, and so it's a great full circle moment. With that being said, is there a motion to adopt resolution number SHFC-2025-12? Director Prince so moves. A second.
Second.
All those in favor, raise your hand by saying aye.
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 Director Ashley Huddleston, yes, passes unanimously. Welcome aboard.
Thank
We're really
you very
excited.
much. Thank you.
Don't break our hearts.
Okay. Directors, moving through the agenda now. We're cracking up here from those comments. Okay. Under discussion item B, previously mentioned, we are going to address that in executive session. Just moving through whether there's any new or unfinished business. Item 8 on our agenda. Hearing none. Then we will be adjourning into executive session momentarily under Texas Government Code annotated F551.071 that we are requesting consultation of an attorney around a matter in order to come to our understanding of the next best steps. So is there a motion to adjourn and go into executive session? Director Prince, and a second?
Seconded.
Director Altamirano. That being, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Director Huddleston, are you still with us? Aye. Okay, we're going to go into executive session, and that means that members of the public, if you'll please leave the room and leave us to ourselves
And
here.
shall we let folks know that when we return, the only business is to adjourn the meeting?
Correct.
So we would love to have you come back and see us do that, but probably won't be missing much.
That is correct. Our orders of business have been- We'll take. So the time is 1:35, and we are returning to the open session of the Strategic Guidance and Finance Corporation monthly meeting. We have completed our executive session of all other items on the agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn our monthly meeting? Director Prince, second from Director Altamirano. All those in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. And we are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.